You guys are helping wildlife and people thrive. A portion of the proceeds coming from your admission ticket, this train ticket, and members. Your membership goes towards our many conservation projects all around the world, as well as locally here in Brevard County. Some conservation projects to note. In Africa, we have giraffe conservation. In South and Central America, there is jaguar conservation. Locally here in Brevard County, we have sea turtles, scrub jays, beach mice, and many other conservation projects. One of them you guys will get a little sneak peek at the end of this fence. If you can see over the fence to your right, you'll notice a pretty big building and some vehicles. This is for our maintenance department. The maintenance department is very important. That's why I like to give them a shout out. Everything you see here in the zoo has been built, maintained, and fixed by our maintenance department. So we're pretty proud of them. To your left, you'll hear it before you see it. These are the free flight aviaries. We'll talk about the free flight aviaries on our return. To your right, you'll see one of those conservation projects I was telling you about. This is for our Restore Our Shores conservation project. These are little mangrove trees that will be planted in the Indian River Lagoon. To your left, you'll see a clutch of eggs on the ground. We'll talk about them on our return. I'll be asking you who you think laid those eggs.
Oh, those eggs over here.
I don't see any eggs. I don't see any eggs.
As we enter the train yard, you'll see on your left a large body of water. This is our Nyami River. The Nyami River is a man-made river. It was actually dug out by our volunteers many years ago. And it's named after a real river that borders Zambia and Zimbabwe in Africa.
Africa?
Yes.
Nyami River, to your left, you'll see our white rhino habitat. Next to our white rhino habitat is the brother lion habitat. The brother lion habitat is under construction. It's going to be built in the Africa loop. And you can actually see our 3 male lions in the wild Florida loop while they're vacationing, waiting for their habitat to be finished. There are 3 different species of antelope here in the train yard. The first species of antelope that you'll see on your right, actually immediately on your right, is a bongo. And the bongo is the rusty red color antelope. The second species of antelope you'll see is the scimitar horned oryx. Bongos are an elusive forest antelope. They're so elusive that they were unknown to science until about the 1960s. So I'd say they won that game of hide and go seek. Rusty red color is perfect for camouflage. When they're behind the bushes, they're basically invisible. To your left, you'll see an island in the middle of the Nyami River. And if you are lucky, you might catch a glimpse of a black and white striped tail. And I could actually see one of them on the branches above their little roof. Those tails belong to the ring-tailed lemurs that inhabit that island. To your left, you'll see the Watusi cattle. The Watusi cattle are an African livestock found. Those horns are not just for fashion, they are for an important function. The Watusi cattle have the ability to regulate their body temperature. Inside those horns is a honeycomb structure that allows them to pull blood from their legs up into those horns to cool themselves down. The third species of antelope we'll see in the Africa train yard are the impala. You can see those are the male impala because they have the beautiful horns on their head. While they are not deer, they are an antelope species. They do follow the same rules where only males will grow the horns. You might catch a glimpse of the female impala further across the Nyami River in the giraffe yard. In front of our Africa night barn, you'll see our dromedary camel, Frankie. And you can tell Frankie is a dromedary camel because he just has one hump on his back. The Africa night barn is where the Africa animals go to sleep at night. You can see it's very tall to accommodate our giraffe. It's about 22 feet tall. And it's also where they'll go if there's any inclement weather, like our famous hurricanes and tropical storms. You can see some bongos resting in the shade under those palm trees right past the Africa keepers. And there's a little bit of that camouflage in action. Now the scimitar horned oryx are named after their beautiful horns, which resemble the scimitar sword. And they differ from the impala because both male and females will grow those horns. That's partly the reason why they were overhunted to near extinction. However, in 2016, conservation efforts were able to reintroduce herds back into their natural habitat. That is a cause for celebration in the conservation community. Scimitar horned oryx can also regulate their body temperature. They have the ability to raise their body temperature to compete with the heat outside. And we've got a bongo right at the railroad crossing. What appears to be a very large skull. This is actually a mold of a Nile crocodile skull. Don't worry, we don't have any real Nile crocodile in our Miami River, but we do have in the wild Florida Loop the American crocodile, as well as some alligators on the other side, if you want to pay them a visit. And we'll just be patient while this bongo crosses into the water. They tend to like to hang out in the water, and usually right up against that fence to your left, and when they're behind that bush line, they're basically invisible. You guys got to see all three species of the antelope in our Africa train yard. First were the bongos, next were the impala, and finally were the scimitar horned oryx. It's always a good day when we can see all the varieties of antelope. As we re-enter the train tunnel, on your left you'll see some beautiful murals depicting the different animals in our Africa loop. These murals were painted by elementary school students from Merritt Island. We've got the ringtail lemurs, crowned cranes, marabou stork, and of course the giraffe. To your right, there's that clutch of eggs again on the ground. On three, shout out who you think laid those eggs. 1, 2, 3. Very good guesses. I heard a bunch of very good guesses. The right answer is ostrich eggs. Those are real ostrich eggs. They were laid by our female ostrich when we had a female. Male and female ostrich differ in feather color. The females will have a muted brown color, and the males will have a black color. And that is because they take turns laying on the nest. Females will lay on the nest during the day, so they blend in with the brown grass. Males will lay on the eggs during the night, so they blend in. The grass looks much darker. And those are real eggs, however, they don't have any yolk left inside, or else they would be pretty stinky there in the sun. If they did have yolk left inside, there would be a whole lot. In fact, about 24 chicken eggs can fit in just one of those ostrich eggs. So imagine the size of that omelet. On your right, you'll see the two free-flight aviaries. Those are located in the lands of Change Loop. They are free for you to walk through. You can feed the birds for $2 if you want, and that's if their bellies are not full yet. Inside the aviaries, you'll see some pink hibiscus shirts belonging to the volunteers. I like to give them a shout out because in 1994, the Brevard Zoo was built by volunteers. On your right, there's that photo opportunity. Say cheese. And the last habitat we'll be going by is the Komodo dragon to your right. You can visit the Komodo dragon and the free flight aviaries in the lands of Change Loop. And that's accessible when you go to the right of the cafe area. We are re-entering the train station, so please stay seated until you hear the bell. That's for safety. My name's Estella. Thank you very much for joining me on the Cape to Cairo Express. I hope you have a wonderful day here at the Brevard Zoo.